Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is Marcus Garvey and Africans in the Caribbean. And of course we have with us to talk about Marcus Garvey and Africans in the Caribbean, Dr. AAl-Hadid, the chairperson of the Africana Studies Department at Tennessee State University. Of course, Dr. AAl-Hadid, let me welcome you to the show once again.
Thank you, Dr. Haynes.
And to talk about another issue that we've discussed on many occasions, and this is the personality of an individual named Marcus Garvey.
Yes.
I think Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, these are very, very significant individuals. And what we'd like to do today is to have you to talk about Marcus Garvey and to talk about Garvey as you found him in the Caribbean. And to have you to deal with that as an issue. But before we get into Marcus Garvey and Africans in the Caribbean, Dr. AAl-Hadid, let's have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in eventually leading you to the chairperson of the Africana Studies Department at Tennessee State University, and then we'll talk about other things.
Yes. Well, I was born in Montgomery, Alabama at a time in American history when apartheid was very much in effect in that part of the world, and that sort of initiated my consciousness as it relates to identifying with our history and our culture. Went to George Washington Carver High School and Alabama State University for my bachelor's in psychology and sociology. I left the Deep South and went out on the West Coast where the movement was in full effect. This was around 1967, and got involved with the Black Studies movement, the Black Power movement, and was part of creating a Black Studies program in the Black Culture Center at the University of California in Santa Barbara. I stayed out there long enough to take 2 master's degrees and a doctorate degree in sociology, emphasizing political sociology and social psychology. And I came to Tennessee State in the early 70s and was in the sociology department for a number of years. And in 1994, we created the Africana Studies Department. I'm the founder of that department. And we've been in effect with the Africana Studies Department for almost 11 years. In fact, we're going to our 11th year now. And we've had our annual conferences, our great debate series, and managed to publish a book with Dr. Baldwin's called Between Cross and Crescent. So we're moving right along, research, publications, and those things.
Well, Dr. AAl-Hadid, you know, when we talk about Marcus Garvey, I think we're reminded that Marcus Garvey played a very, very significant role in trying to bring Africans together in the Caribbean. Let's talk about Africans in the Caribbean and Africans in the New World in a real sense. Where did all of these Africans come from, and how did they happen to be situated in that particular part of the world? And let's talk about it from that perspective.
Okay. Well, you know, the European powers had colonies in this part of the world throughout the Caribbean, North America, South America, and these colonies were used to produce agricultural products such as sugarcane, rum, cotton, coffee, tea, and those things. So they imported African prisoners of war, and once they got them over here, they made them into slaves and put them in a situation not of indentured servitude, but chattel slavery. And so our first experiences as Africans was primarily in the Caribbean, because that's where the seasoning process took place. That's when the slaves were stripped of their names, their nationality, their religions, their culture, and their languages. And then once they were put in this docile state, then many of them were brought to the mainland along the eastern seaboard and the 13 colonies here. But we also have to remember, while this process was going on, there were some slaves that escaped from the plantation. In fact, they ran away into the mountains. They're called in history the Maroons. So they established their own society, their own culture. And if we look at a country like Jamaica, for example, we see the Maroons playing a very strong role there. Out of that tradition came, say, the Rastafarians, came Marcus Garvey, and we saw the same thing in Haiti. So the Maroons were the people that ran off the plantation, went into the mountain, established their own cultures and society, and they played very instrumental roles in carrying on the slave rebellions and ultimately leading to the independence of many of these Caribbean countries, as well as some of the South American countries like in Brazil and Guatemala and places like Suriname.
You know, when we talk about the Africans in this particular section of the Americans, Dr. Al-Hadid, we will have to sort of investigate what they were doing, not only at that particular time, but some of the activities that they were involved in individual countries. And when we come back during the second section, we'll have an opportunity to have you to go into some greater detail doing that. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. The topic is